So I was telling Father Kujo, do you really need an introduction? I'm glad to be here with you. I want to thank Father Kujo, and I also want to thank the organizers for asking me to study the second sign of the dynamic Catholic, which is study, and share with you. You know why I'm happy? Because I have read the second sign. I've decided to read all the signs. Matthew Kelly is incredible. He's completely incredible. You have to get his books. So I have another one of his books here, The Biggest Lie in the History of Christianity. Okay. And I started reading a book. For a while now, I've been reading a page every day of a particular book. But I just started reading another book, A Pope and a President. And when I read the second sign, social distancing, when I read the second sign, I was just glad that I was reading a book, A Pope and a President. It's a very, very beautiful book of the relationship between John Paul II and American President Ronald Reagan, and how they worked together to destroy communism in the world. So I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. Today we're looking at study. And the key points are the Catholic view of reality is awesome, and therefore we call it the genius of Catholicism. So the main point is that for us today, the first main point is that if you want to see reality, see it through the eyes of the Catholic Church. Then you see true reality. And this is all because what the Catholic Church sees is what Jesus saw. And what Jesus sees is what the Father saw. That is why the Catholic view of reality is awesome. That's the first point. The second point we'll look at today is the view of the world that we live in today is completely confusing. Completely. And the one word that sums that up is relativism. Relativism, we'll be looking at what it means. So Matthew Kelly begins, what I'll be doing is that I'll be doing the slides and then I'll be quoting from his book. I'll be reading from his book. Matthew Kelly begins by saying that we are lost in our worldview because our worldview is very limited. It depends on the school, the home you come from, the schools you attended, the work you are doing, and the kind of experiences you have gone through. And the danger is that our worldview becomes very limited because of that. Let's go to the third slide. And that limit, he calls them blind spots. I, as a driver, understand that very clearly. You are driving in one lane. You look into your rear mirror, and then you switch off into the other lane, and you hear the horn. Who is that child disturbing my peace? And then you move to the other lane, and then you hear somebody blowing the horn, and then you look and realize that there was a car by your side, but you didn't see it. It's called blind what? Spot. There's so much. Next slide. There's so much that we think that we don't know because our training is in a particular direction. Okay, our experiences are in a particular direction. So what God does is that he challenges our worldview. God is always challenging our worldview. Let me give you an example of how my worldview was challenged recently by COVID-19. You see, when COVID-19 started, we all got scared because there was no vaccine, there was no cure. And the numbers of people who were getting infected continued to increase. And people began to die, especially in Italy. The Italian one really shook me. So I thought that, hey, this is the real thing. We are in trouble, we are in serious trouble. And so God drew my attention to something. The next slide. From 2015 to 2019, every year, we had 121 million unintended pregnancies. Pregnancies that were not expected. 121 million every year. Of these unintended pregnancies, 61% end up in abortion. And that 61% is 73 million babies. Every year, 73 million babies are killed every year. Now, COVID, since it started over a year and a half, we have over 117 million people getting infected. The abortions are higher than this. No, not the abortions, they are unintended pregnancies. And out of the cases confirmed, those who have died, 2.6 million have died. So when I read this, it struck me. 2.6 million people have died due to COVID-19. 73 million have died due to abortion. Where should the attention be going to? Abortion, is that not it? Yes. It changed my whole perception of the COVID-19 thing. And you know, interestingly now, we have a vaccine for COVID-19. We still don't have a vaccine for the abortions. Which means that this year, by the end of the year, we would have killed 73 million babies. So I am looking at God who is up there. He is seeing all these statistics together. And I'm asking, which one will he be worried about? COVID or abortion? Do you get what we are talking about? Our worldview. You understand it now? Yes. So if you know more, your worldview changes. And God is always challenging our worldview. Jesus challenged the worldview of the people he met. Zacchaeus, for example, when he says, "Come down, I'll be in your house today." And he went to the house of Zacchaeus. He was doing something to Zacchaeus. We're not paying attention. He was doing something to him. Zacchaeus will not be the same after Jesus leaves his house. He says, "Those I have cheated, I will pay back." Is that not it? And I'll give some of my property for charity. His worldview before this was grabbing. But when he met Jesus, it changed to giving. Or the woman who was caught in adultery. Has no one condemned you? Neither do I condemn you, but the worldview must change. Go and sin no more. The worldview must change. And then the people who wanted to stone the woman, let the one who has not sinned before throw the first stone. Their worldview changed. Or Pilate, he says, "For this I came into the world, for this I was born, to bear witness to the truth. And those who are on the side of truth, listen to me." And Pilate realized that his worldview was being challenged there. And he asked, "What is truth?" Because as a politician, truth is that which is convenient. And Jesus is telling him, you have to go beyond that. Because truth is that which corresponds to reality. That is truth. So the goal of God is to bring us to a new world view, for us to begin to change the way we see ourselves, the way we see others, the way we see our world, and the way we relate with ourselves, others, and the world. And the Catholic Church has that world view. The Catholic Church has that world view. It's a comprehensive and a coherent worldview. One scholar on his deathbed, who has studied the Catholic Church almost all his life, on his deathbed realized that he hasn't even started yet. The Catholic Church's teachings are incredibly comprehensive, and yet they are coherent. They don't contradict one another. But it is because it's from God, and God cannot contradict himself. They are very, very coherent. And what Matthew Kelly is doing is that he's saying that this Catholic worldview has a vision for the human person. It has a vision for the human person. In other words, thank you very much. I'm a teacher. I'm not used to standing at the same place. The question is, who is a human being? Where do we come from? Where are we going? We call them the fundamental questions, the philosophical questions that are the basis of all other questions. And the Catholic Church says we have an answer for that. And what does the Catholic Church say about the human person? God's vision for the human person passed through the Catholic Church is summed up in the words of Jesus. When you read Matthew 28, he says, from verse 8, he says, then Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. He has power over the human person. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. The human person is supposed to be a disciple of Jesus. My machine is misbehaving. And teaching them to obey all that I have commanded you. So the Catholic Church is supposed to teach the nations, all nations, not some, what Jesus has taught the church. Those 3 years that he journeyed with the leaders of the church, the apostles. So what is the vision of God? What is the vision of the church for the human person? One word: holiness. Please, if you forget everything I have said today, carry this one with you home. God's vision of the human person, Jesus' vision of the human person, the Catholic Church's vision of the human person is that the human person be holy. Okay, that's ancient language, is that not? It's holy. What does it mean to be holy? Before that, let me read what Matthew Kelly says about this. Page 77. It's a very simple idea. God calls you to holiness. And everything that happens in your life, every triumph, every trial, every tragedy, is an opportunity to grow in holiness. Do you understand what he's saying there? When you know that the main thing is holiness, everything else you do is about holiness. When you work hard and pay attention to the details of your work, you grow in virtue, you grow in character, you become holy. Holiness is not only come to church on Sundays and going home. You can grow in holiness in the workplace. That's what he's saying. When you are patient with your little sister or a customer, who drives you crazy. You become more perfectly who God created you to be. And you grow in holiness. When you develop a daily routine of prayer, so for you that time is prayer time. And when it comes, everything comes to a standstill because you have to pray. So when you develop a daily routine of prayer and practice it persistently, you develop a closer relationship with God and you grow in holiness. Every moment has meaning. Every moment of every day presents you with an opportunity to grow in holiness by loving God, loving your neighbor, and becoming more perfect, the unique and wonderful person God created you to be. And he said when this idea captured him, when the idea that everything you do can make you holy, not only coming to church, when it struck him, everything changed in his life. And he says this is a vital connection that the church is failing to make for too many people. It is crucial that we make the connection between the ordinary activities of life and the dream of God, the dream God has for each person, if we want to genuinely engage people. At that early time in my life, I saw that everything I did mattered. In every moment, I was either celebrating or betraying my best self. Let me sum up what he's saying. He's saying that when you are cooking and you do it well, you grow in holiness. When you're going to get water and you get it well and you bring it well, you grow in holiness. When you forgive your neighbor who offends you, you grow in holiness. When you go to work and you put the WhatsApp aside and you work very hard, you grow in holiness. When your boss is too much for you, but you're able to tolerate your boss, you grow in holiness. So holiness is not only prayer. Prayer is also part of it. It's not only mass. Mass is also part of it. But holiness is the things we do every day. That's how we become holy. Everything we do. Hello? Are you here with me? Do you want to be holy? Now, Matthew Kelly decides to use a particular phrase, next slide, to explain what it means to be holy, because people don't really understand it. So he says, to be holy means to be called to be the best version of yourself. That is what it means to be holy. The best version of yourself. So everything you do, you show your best version. You don't do it haphazardly. There's a book I read regularly. I read a page every day. It's entitled Insinu Jesu, on the chest of Christ. There are copies in the, it's a very beautiful book. It's meant for priests, but anybody can read it and practice it. And I feel I have a calling to do adoration. And there are days that I don't do my adoration as I'm supposed to. I'll do small, then I'll get up and walk away. And then the next time I open the book, it will say, I didn't choose you for lukewarmness. I've had that experience since I was in the seminary. If I'm going through something and I want an answer from God, I go look through books. The one that attracts me, I take it, I open it, and he speaks to the situation. I've been doing this all my life. But the point you are making here is that if you are holy, it means you are at your best. That's what it means, to be at your best. Now, the idea of best version of yourself is the central idea around which all ideas grow, Let me explain this because it's very, very important. All the things you do in your life, the most central point, the most important one, is that you are the best of yourself. All others surround that one. Because everything else you do, you're expected to be your best. Is that not it? So being your best is the central idea. Or being holy is the central idea. And all others are built around it. I want to read this to you. Page 78 and 79. He says, what makes a good friend? If I come and stand here, you won't see me, so I want to stand here. What makes a good friend? Someone who helps you become the best version of yourself. So if you have a friend who is not bringing the best out of you, then there's a question mark on that friendship. What makes a good meal? Food that helps you become the best version of yourself. So if you are not supposed to be drinking Coca-Cola because it's not good for your health, then you are not supposed to be taking it. I'm talking to myself. What makes good books, movies, and music? Those that inspire you to become the best version of yourself. How many of you watched Barack Obama's 2008 speech after he won the presidency? Hello, Chicago. That's how he began it. When the going goes tough for me, that's the video I go to watch. It's so inspiring. It gives you a reason to take the next step. And after I watch it, I'm ready to move on. What is the meaning and purpose of marriage? Husband and wife coming together, challenging and encouraging each other to become the best version of themselves. Couples, are you here? Mr. and Mrs. Apedo are you looking at me? That is what it means to be holy. To help your partner to be the best that he or she can be. And then raising children and teaching them to celebrate the best version of themselves. Always correcting them and encouraging them. What is the meaning of work? Is it making money? No. The primary value of work is that when we work hard, we become a better version of ourselves. Do you know the reason why there is promotion at work? When you are promoted, what they are saying is that you become a better version of yourself. That's what they are saying. So when you are never promoted, hello, sometimes it's not your fault, I know. I can agree to that. I have often been challenged by people saying that striving to become the best version of yourself seems like a very selfish aim. Not so. In fact, nothing will be further from the truth. Every time I become a better version of myself, in even the smallest way, I become a better husband, a better father, a better son, a better brother, a better manager, a better neighbor, a better parishioner, a better citizen, and a better Catholic. If you extend the idea one step further, you discover that every time you become a better version of yourself, your parish becomes a better parish. The company you work for becomes a better organization, and your country becomes a better nation. As we discovered in the prologue, personal transformation is at the heart of renewing the world in the way God intends it. The best thing you can do for anyone else is to grow in holiness, become a better version. Now, let me share this with you that a lot of people are worried about the environment. And they don't realize that the chaos in the environment is because of the chaos inside us. And I'll give myself as a typical example. I'm a typical scatterbrain. So the pillow is supposed to be at the head, it's at the tail, at the foot of the bed. and all kinds of things, bottles I've drank water from under the bed and all that. When I go for adoration and I come back, it is automatic. I don't even think about it. I start picking the bottles and putting them where they belong to, put the pillow back, straighten the bed. It happens automatically. When you have order inside, there's order outside. There's complete order outside. Now let's continue with what Matikeli is saying. He says life is about saying yes to the things that help you to grow in holiness and no to the things that don't. This point is so important. He says when you wake up, do this for one day. When you wake up in the morning, everything you are about to do, say, is this going to be for my best or to go against me? Everything you do throughout the day. And you realize that if the little choices you make every day, they are for your best, then you grow. That's how life is. Because our view on everything flows from this primary vision. The way we see reality is based on the level of holiness we have. Our best, the best of ourselves. Our vision must help others to grow in holiness. Not only us, but others to also grow in holiness. Now let's turn to look at our culture. This is the vision of the church. What does our culture say? The present culture does not have a vision of who a human person is supposed to be. Let me ask all of you here. What is the vision of a human being by our culture? What does our culture say about a human person? Anyone who knows, please raise your hand. Okay. Now, when Matthew Kelly talks about our culture, he's talking about the American culture. But I think the American culture is eating into the African culture now. And we better be ready before it hits us. If LGBTQ is asking to be accepted, then there are issues. Our present culture is based on consumption, especially the American culture, economics. Our present culture cannot fulfill us. It cannot make us happy. I gave a talk to a group of, to the cathedral parishioners about some 2 weeks ago. And I was quoting the book of Jeremiah. And God said, my people have committed 2 sins. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters. And they've gone to build broken cisterns for themselves. A broken cistern is like a wall. I said a wall. The one we pull water from. A well. It's like a well. But the well is broken. And you are trying to get water from it and be satisfied. Our culture is like a broken cistern. So for example, we are saying that it is okay if a man feels like he wants to spend his life with another man. Let's allow them to marry. Now, they will go into that relationship, they will have pleasure, but they will never have joy and fulfillment. Never. Because that's not how God made them. And that's the nature of our culture. It offers you goods that don't satisfy. They may give you pleasure, but they don't satisfy. And that's the culture we live in. And Jesus says, whoever wants to save his life will lose it. But whoever loses his life for my sake and for the gospel will save it. What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his soul? Or what can a man give in exchange for his soul? So the world will offer you the things that Satan offered Jesus. 10 stone into bread, economic prosperity. Bow and worship me, I'll give you the kingdoms of the world, power. Jump and then they will hold you, not hit your feet against stone, influence. He will offer these things to you, but after he's offered it to you, what happens to your soul? So the world we must begin to reflect on our lives and ask where we are going. In a sense, we need a new worldview. We need to study. Keep going. We need to study. There's a genius in Catholicism. The world does not see it. That's the tragedy. The world rejects the Catholic worldview of reality. Why? Secular culture is based on relativism. It is coming to Africa, but it's very prevalent in the West. Relativism. What does it mean to say that I am relative? I believe in the philosophy of relativism. When we were studying in Rome, we were treating modern philosophies. And when we came to relativism, the lecturer said, this is philosophy without rails. You know, when you are coming down a staircase, you hold a rail when you are going to fall. This is how God made us. When he made us, he gave us truths that we have to follow, like the 10 Commandments. They are the rails. Relativism says there are no rails. There are no absolute truths. What you think is true is true. Are you here with me? So if I think that A is true, he thinks B is true, Dela thinks C is true, and then you think D is true. Which one is the truth now? Do you understand what we are talking about here? And it is because of that understanding, that is why you can have a man and a man get married. They are two consenting adults. And that is their truth. Or a woman gets pregnant with a baby. She has choice. It is her truth. So she can go and abort the baby. But before, she can't, because there's a rail. And the rail says, thou shalt not kill. Do you know what relativism is doing? It is throwing God's laws out of the window. And says, we are now the gods. We will make the laws now. That's the meaning of relativism. I'll be done soon. I know my time is almost up. Now the danger with relativism is that it makes you lack wisdom. You see, if everything goes, then you don't have options to choose from. And wisdom is choosing the good from the bad option. That's wisdom. And you can't relate with God without wisdom. Why? Because God has his choices. So when you are wise, you are able to choose what he wants and avoid the other one. Relativism says, throw that out. We can't follow wisdom. We will do it only our way. Now, let's put that into sexual morality, for example. So some psychologists are saying that at a certain level in a young man's life, masturbation is okay. A man can watch pornography as long as he wants. It's not really an issue. Fornication is okay. So in some parts of the states, by the time the children are 12, 13, 14, the parents give them condoms. When you have relativism, anything is possible. And when you say no, they say you are not open-minded. But must we be open-minded to everything? Should you be open-minded to putting your hand in the fire? Sometimes it is okay not to be open-minded. Sometimes it is okay to say that this area we can't go. It's not acceptable. Imagine you are bringing up your child at home and you are open-minded. Everything the child does goes. By the time that child is 15 years old, you will drive the child from the house. We cannot be just open-minded. Some things are right, some things are wrong. And if humanity is to make any progress in this century, the era of moral relativism must come to an end. Get rid of it in the individual life and then in the society and in the church. How do you get rid of relativism? Study the truth. Study the truth of the Catholic faith. It is truth that shapes our freedom. And then we will not become slaves. So I'll end with that. Jesus said, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Relativism says, there's no truth. Your truth is the truth. But the problem with this is that if I say I am going to engage in pornography because that is my truth, at the end of it, I can't stop watching pornography. Do you know how we call that? Addiction, slavery. But the truth of God, when you believe it, when you take it, that, for example, one truth of God is that God loves us. If you take that truth, you pray through it, you read about it, and you begin to experience God's love, it sets you free. That's the beauty of God's truth. We'll end here today. Tomorrow we'll continue. Thank you for listening to me, and God bless you.